show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Can y'all hear me now? I think y'all can hear me now. Let me see. Is it working? Let's see here. Still no sound? Oh my gosh. 1 second. 1 second here. Should be working. Here. Check. It should be working. What are you talking about? Are you sure y'all can hear me? Okay. I am so sorry. See, I need somebody to come and help me with this stuff, man. I'm doing everything by myself. Okay. I'm too old for this. Okay. I am too old for this. Where are y'all youngins, man? Somebody come help me with this stuff, please. Okay. Do I look like a tech person to you? Okay. All I do is read and bring you the stuff. Okay. That's my job. My job is to read and bring you the stuff. Okay. So now we got sound. All right. I want to hear it. I don't want to hear no noise. No pun intended. I don't want to hear no noise, but my ghetto sound. Okay. All right. Go and share this live. Okay. It's gonna be a hot one tonight. Okay. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes. Welcome back to the features. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like. Okay. I mean, go like, subscribe, and share. Okay. You got me working. I gotta go to work and I gotta come over here and tell y'all stuff after work. Okay. And when my sound ain't working, I gotta get all this work from my alleged subscribers. Alleged. Okay. Telling me all about my parts and doing this and doing that or whatever. Okay. Why can't y'all help? Why can't y'all help? At least like, subscribe, and share. Y'all are tripping. Anyways, family. Okay. We talked about many times on this particular channel. I'm not quite sure if any other Islamic or Muslim or Black grassroots channel covered this particular topic. I know maybe Middle Nation, he might have talked about it, but I'm not quite sure. But we are talking about the impending economic and societal collapse, right? The impending economic and societal collapse is no longer impending, okay? Since both are authoritatively here. And you may recall, those of you who are my day ones, that we mentioned this years ago. We mentioned that a collapse was imminent, but now it's a done deal. It's here. Those of you who were fortunate enough to see my debate with Daniel Hikikachu, you may recall at that time that we mentioned that the US debt, I believe at that time, if I'm not mistaken, was $26 trillion. Okay? At that time. Now, the US debt is in 2024 is 34 trillion $155 billion. And that's essentially $101,000 in debt for every citizen of the United States. Even though we're talking about the US debt, I want to be very clear that this is not a political dispute, right? Rather, the collapse of societies are a phenomenon which occur regularly. And it's something that actually deserves to be studied. So, we should not delude ourselves into thinking that things will eventually go back to normal, because that is not happening. Okay, it's not happening, y'all. If y'all are hoping and praying that things go back to normal, it ain't gonna happen. Okay. Right now, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You ain't gonna get the toothpaste back in the tube. Pandora's box is wide open. And the quicker that we act, the better off that we will be, which requires a lot of cooperation and cohesion and buckling down and serious work. Though many societies throughout history have collapsed, this is the first time that we're witnessing a global collapse, a global breakdown of society. Okay, we haven't seen anything like this before. Even in our lifetime, we may have seen some side. We've seen the collapse of, for example, the Berlin Wall. We've seen the collapse of Zimbabwe, right, and that financial crisis. We've seen here and there, but this is the first time in history there is something happening globally. Unless you've been living under a rock somewhere, you sense something is absolutely, awry. It is being exacerbated by the non-stop printing of greenbacks and the funding of preventable wars and clinging on to colonial projects or post-colonial projects in the fight for dominance by the global elites. There is an ecologist, his name is Dr. Peter Turchin. Okay. Peter Turchin. And he argues that when certain markers appear, you can mathematically predict the collapse of society. And one of these markers is when there is an overabundance of cultural elites. What he means by this is that, as we know, all societies are hierarchical. Listen, I know the word. Okay, hierarchical. Oh man, I'm so tired. All societies have a hierarchical, what you call it, system. Okay, they all have it. Okay, and he argues that in this hierarchical balance, there will always be those who are, of course, rich and those who are poor. We know this already. This is something that's not unusual. However, no matter how many people live in that society, there will always be a limited amount of elite positions. Always. For example, in Saudi Arabia, how many kings are in Saudi Arabia at the same time? There's only one, right? Since the inception of the United States in, when was it, 1865 or whatever, after the Civil War, there's always been one president and 50 senators. So these positions are always limited. And there are only so many aristocratic positions that can be filled. So, like in the past, we have schools like Harvard and Oxford, which are essentially legacy schools. In the past, they were explicitly for rich white Protestants. They weren't for the regular people. And now it's opened up, and these schools have allowed, you know, elites from all over and all different types of walks of life to attend their schools, and now are very competitive, which means that these elites are now competing for the most prestigious positions in society. So now we have these elites who are flooding the market per se, and they're vying for these most prestigious positions. And the end result is that this spurs a outburst of populist movements. This is what Dr. Peter Turchin he's arguing here. Okay, which we are seeing the result of in this time internationally. We're seeing it right now in real time. We're seeing right now the financial collapse of the greenback, which of course many countries have tied their currencies to, including Saudi Arabia. It's been the global reserve currency, which is why there is pressure to try to keep this currency afloat, but it's not going to stay afloat because you cannot stay afloat when you're $34 trillion in debt. There's no way that's getting paid back. There's so much USD, like US currency, throughout the world right now. They're flooding the market in Ukraine. They're flooding the market in Israel. They're flooding them everywhere that they want these wars. They just flood the market. Okay, billions and billions and billions of dollars all over to fight these wars. Not to mention these private companies who benefit from these wars, which causes inflationary pressure on the regular person. And now you have these BRICS nations who are making their own currency to compete with the USD, which will cause trillions of dollars to come right back to the US. If you guys have seen, I believe, was it Venezuela? No, it wasn't Venezuela. What's that country, man? Argentina. It was Argentina. Recently, Argentina, they had an election. The Argentinian president, he is one of those populist elites, one of those extremely far right presidents. Okay? Extremely far right. And he said that he wanted to get rid of his own currency to use the USD instead. And what did that do? It practically collapsed the economy within weeks. Within weeks. Because nobody wants that USD. Nobody wants it anymore. You get it? And this is a very, very important topic. I'm not quite sure why more Muslims aren't talking about this, because this is here now. And the window is so small, especially for black folk, to do something about this. We've said before, remember years ago, where are my day ones at? Remember how many years ago we said that Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States? And some of y'all thought I was tripping, right? We said that maybe 2 years ago, like two years into the Joe Biden presidency. Right? Y'all remember that? Well, guess who is leading the Republican, leadership today? Is it not Donald Trump? Despite all of his legal battles and whatnot, exactly, man. We called it. We called it how long ago? Years ago, not even a few months. Years ago, we called it. Okay? And we also said that he and I stand by this. He's going to be the last president of the United States if he's alive. It's going to be him, or it's going to be somebody like him, because of this very same phenomenon that we're talking about right now. Which, ironically enough, this is a concept that is mentioned in the Quran. We'll get to that anyways. We'll get to that in a minute. It's a concept mentioned in the Quran directly, which gives Muslims more of an advantage if they understand the Quran and the Sunnah. But we'll get to that in a minute. Okay? Anyways, I digress. Okay? If you look at Donald Trump, however, he's marketed as a like one of the boys. You get me? Look at how he markets himself, right? He's definitely elite. He's not one of the boys, right? All these elitists, all of them, without exception, they peddle themselves like this. They have these personas like they are like the people. You get me? They're just regular people. They're like, if you look at Donald Trump, for example, he tries to peddle himself like a blue-collared worker, the way he presents himself, going to these rallies and whatnot, and talk about jobs and work, and like he ever worked a day in his life. Like he ever worked a day in his life. The hardest work he ever did was holding down a woman to molest him. Okay, that's it. Or lifting those Big Macs to his yellow face. That's it. Don't even have the energy to scrub his crack with his funky butt. But anyways, I digress. That's another digression. Okay. Joe Biden, for example, he went to Syracuse. Okay. Bill Clinton went to Yale. Barack Obama went to Harvard. Do these sound like regular people to you? How many of you regular people personally know people that went to Yale, Harvard, Syracuse? Okay. Donald Trump went to Penn State. Y'all know anybody who went to Penn State? These are elite schools. Donald Trump, who never worked a day in his life, never stepped into a factory. He's petting himself like, that he is one of the boys who went to the factory, worked a hard day, and sweat and blood, all kind of stuff, and after that goes a few down with the boys after a hard shift, or a 12-hour shift. You get me? But what they do is that they use because they're pretty much, if they can't get these positions like these senator positions or these aristocratic positions or president, whatever, now they themselves get disenchanted. And they start their own populist movements. Look at the Koch brothers. And so on. People like this. This happens in every society, particularly, and it gathers steam when the society is about to collapse. Thank you, Tika. He went to UPenn, sorry, which is the first Ivy League school in the United States. Donald Trump, y'all. One of the boys. UPenn. Thank you. Anyways, this is all smoke and mirrors, okay? It's all like magic tricks. These are methods to. Remember, we talked about the book called The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon? Remember we talked about that book? This is what they learn in those schools. How to move the crowd. And we're not talking about Eric B. and Rakim, okay? This is how they really move the crowd. Okay? Donald Trump, who enriched himself off of the very immigrants that he is now attempting to keep out the country, started a populist movement contradicting his own lifestyle, keep the immigrants out. Because this is what they do. Instead of fixing the problems that they caused, they always blame some other folk. Some other people's the problem somewhere else, right? They are responsible for all these problems that we have, and they shift the blame to other people that they oppressed. If you look at the wealth gap, how and why it started, okay? All Western countries were set up to benefit white people, correct? That's how they were set up. They're set up to benefit white people economically. So much so that America became white because of the Homestead Act. Argentina became white because of mass immigration from Europe. Lucrative immigration policies for Europeans to Argentina. Same thing with Colombia. Same thing with all these countries. Canada, same thing. Okay. So they would give away free land to white folks just to show up. They expanded who they considered white in this giving away free land. So white people who weren't considered white at once upon a time are now considered white. Okay. Like Italians, like Irish, and these types. Okay. So now, as long as the wealth was rising in the West, so did the minimum wage, and so did the average wealth of the white American, correct? And when did the tides start changing? Does anybody know? When did this all start changing? Whose administration did all this start changing? I'm going to ask the question, see if anybody knows. There was a particular president with his economic policies that became very popular. When we talk about the populist elites, right? Who knows who it is? Taoyudo says Kennedy. Any other guesses? Iman says Kennedy too. Any other guesses? Anybody else? Which president? Taoyudo says Clinton. It was actually Ronald Reagan. Okay? Ronald Reagan. It's actually Ronald Reagan. Does anybody know the economic policy that he implemented that caused a direct pipeline for the wealth to go that straight into the hands of the elites. Does anybody know what was this economic policy that caused this shift from the gradual rising of wealth, throughout society, particularly white society? Thank you, stepmommy. Yes, it's trickle down economics. Trickle down economics. The theory behind this is that if you give corporations generous tax breaks, eventually what will happen is that these corporations will share the wealth with their employees, correct? That's the theory behind it. Correct? Did this happen? Yes or no? Did this happen? Did those corporations share wealth with their employees? Is that what happened? No, it never happened. As a matter of fact, we started seeing the rise of CEOs who would make in a day what their employees would make in a year. Then we had the free trade agreement, which affected the West very detrimentally. Right? Who remembers when free trade happened? They're talking about, oh, we're going to get all this cheap stuff because all these corporations are going to go to Mexico and whatnot. North American free trade agreement. All the corporations left Canada, left the U.S., went to Mexico and all these poor countries, and paid the people in the poor countries pittance to do the jobs that Westerners can do, which caused entire cities to be razed, including Detroit. Mind you, they could have kept their vehicle market in Detroit. But why didn't they keep the vehicle market in Detroit? Does anybody know the reason? Who's brave enough to say the reason? Why were they not willing to keep their vehicle markets in Detroit? Anybody know? What was going on in Detroit at that time? What was happening in Detroit? Who remembers? Detroit, the demographic of Detroit was mostly what? Nope, had nothing to do with all that came afterwards when those car companies left. Thank you. It was black people. It was black people. The economic situation of black people was getting so good in Detroit, and it was getting incredibly good. People all over the states were like making hijra to Detroit to get these jobs. They could have kept it in the US, but they said, no, we cannot let these black folks get a leg up on us. We got to send their jobs somewhere else, which they did. So now, what is happening since trickle down economics is that the wealth gap between poor whites and rich whites has becoming wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. Correct? And now, who are these poor whites blaming for this wealth gap? Are they blaming the elites? Who are they blaming? Somebody put it in the chat, please. Who are they blaming for all their problems in 2024? You find it all over the news. Even a civil war is about to break out because of this one issue. Who is it? Stepmom is the closest. Mexicans. What do we call those folks? Immigrants. That's what it is. Now they blaming the immigrants for all their problems. So much so, a civil war is about to break out in the United States over the issue of immigrants. Not that the same elites raised and pillaged the countries that these immigrants come from, like Ecuador and El Salvador and all these global South countries. You know, you had what's it called? Global Fruit, that corporation. I think it's called Global Fruit, who, you know, did all kinds of craziness in Honduras, in what you call it, El Salvador. Madness. These corporations, it's insane the things that they did. Yeah, you have U.S. aid funding, what you call it, these militias all over, you know, the Latin American countries, small mountain, so they can basically get all the natural resources, particularly from cash crops like bananas and mangoes and all this kind of stuff. People dying over this stuff. And then people who are growing this stuff, all your frozen berries and all this stuff coming from these South American countries and whatnot, people dying over this stuff. They can't even eat. They can't eat over there. And what happens when you flood a market with cheap labor? What happens? It's not the first time this happened. If a market is flooded with cheap labor from outside of the normal market, people fleeing and things of this nature, what happens is salaries get suppressed in that particular market, and it increases scarcity of resources. So even if you look on YouTube right now, you will find in Canada, places like Brampton, Mississauga, videos, okay? Even Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken. When a job opening happens, for example, in Walmart, you will literally find a line of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of South Asians lining up for maybe 4 or 5 jobs at Walmart somewhere. Long lines. And the thing about South Asians, the second that they get into a management position, that's it. If they work 10, 20 years in one position and they become a manager at a Burger King or something, or, you know, a Harvey's, you will never, ever, ever see a non-South Asian employee in that place ever again. Ever. It will be completely South Asian until the end of times, okay? People complaining about this in Guelph here in Canada, complaining about this in of course, you know, if you ask the general Torontonian, what's the worst city in the GTA, they'll all tell you Brampton. I'll tell you, Brampton. We all know what Brampton's full of. Okay? Ain't nobody gonna say it's not Brampton. They're gonna say Brampton number one and Mississauga number two. That's what they're gonna say. Well, these used to be really nice cities. But I digress. Okay? Allah says in the Quran that whoever gets involved in riba, riba interest, then Allah will make war with that person. War. What we are seeing now with these collapse worldwide is the effect of riba. The effect on riba on the global economies. It's getting to the point where the labor market doesn't even see the benefit of going to work. Many people are just opting out of work because no matter how hard they work, they can't catch up with the bills. And it's not that the commodities or the bills or anything like that got any better. That's not it. It's that the markets have been flooded with cheap currency. Absolutely flooded with cheap currency. Furthermore, you have the Liberal Project, which of course is trying to find new sources of voting blocks. And how do they always do it? What's the number one strategy for this? Is always immigration. Always. Always immigration. Okay? And we mentioned this last year when Joe Biden visited Justin Trudeau. Was it last year or the year before? I'm pretty sure it was last year, early last year. Right? Since that visit, Canada's never had issues with immigration before. But since that visit, we had problem after problem after problem with immigration. We've had problems with we are having problems with immigration, but not like that. Nothing like what we're seeing today. And that's the other thing, because Psych for Press mentioned universal basic income is coming. When you see your governments talking about universal basic income, the society has collapsed. The economy has collapsed. That's it. Forget it. Forget it. The economy's finished. This is a very old tactic, starting even way back with the ancient Greeks, ancient Romans, when they devalued their currency so much through the same type of things, riba and whatever, that the people, of course, they would rise up because they can't afford basic things. They can't afford basic things. And what would they do? They would promise the people, okay, we're going to take care of you. Once they start doing that, that's it. Black people should know this better than anybody else because it was these devils' promise to take care of black women to destroy the black family. And we should not be looking to take anything from these folks, which is why I'm doing this live right now, actually. Right? If you look at, remember we said that even the Quran itself alludes to what to do in societal collapse. The Quran. Y'all with me? Look at the story of Yusuf, alayhi salam. What was the story of Yusuf, alayhi salam? What was that really about in our times? Is that not about the collapse of society? Okay. Right? But it's an economic collapse, correct? Famine. Okay. So he prepared for this upcoming famine with the help of the elites at that time, and with his preparation, it strengthened the Egyptian kings and his power at that time, right? Which is the same thing that we need to be thinking about, because when this civil war kicks off, white folks ain't going to be looking at black people. They are going to be fighting each other. Okay? Which means we are going to have actually some time to breathe. Okay? Which means we need to be preparing our own selves. Because they ain't going to be focused on this. They're not focused on us now for the first time, and I can't even remember how long. They ain't worried about us. They worried about immigrants. I cannot remember the last time that black folk weren't weren't in the crosshairs of these demons. They're calling the immigrant crisis invasion, all kind of stuff. Joe Biden, just today, I think it was, they finally got this bill done with the Republicans. So how much is the bill? I think it's like $103 billion they're going to send to Ukraine. That's it. It's over. Game's done. The game is over. $103 billion? Finished. And in return, they gave the Republicans the most robust border bill in U.S. history. So they are continuing to flood the market with these cheap greenbacks, abroad and domestically. So the top priorities, particularly for black folk, black Muslims, especially for black Muslims, right? And more black Muslims need to focus on this, because to be honest, again, like I said, the window for error, or the window for waiting, like there is no window for waiting. We have to actually act like right now, immediately, right? Top priorities. First one, and let's get all this stuff out the way, because I know y'all are gonna say, why don't you say Tawheed and Sunnah? Okay, yes, Tawheed, Sunnah, okay, all that stuff, okay? Tawheed, Sunnah, Quran, all that, okay? Okay, before y'all start tripping, because I know y'all gonna say it, okay? Are you happy? I said it, okay? Now can I get to the nitty gritty, please? Thank you. All right. First priorities should be, in no particular order, but food security, which we have never had on any measurable scale. That needs to be acquired immediately. Food security. Okay. Land acquisition. You're not going to survive in populated areas, to be honest. Like what you see going on. Let's just look what's going on in populated areas on the earth today. Just look. That's coming here. So especially if you're in Canada, if you're in Toronto, a place like this, even Hamilton, I will say, I would even say include Niagara region in that. That would include Vancouver, definitely Vancouver. Vancouver is right up there with Toronto, to be honest, and GTA region. But if you're in these areas, you are essentially, may Allah help you, man. May Allah help you. But just put it that way. Just put it that way. Okay? You essentially need to be out, and even according to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you shouldn't be in populated areas when it all goes down. He's telling you this, right? Even the Prophet Muhammad says something. He goes, "Leave the people and go in the desert and bite off the roots of trees, even if you have to die in that state." Even he's telling y'all, you don't want to be in the populated areas, and this requires a lot of cooperation, a lot of effort, and a lot of work, which means there's a lot of pressure that is coming. And it means that a lot of us are going to have to swallow our pride and learn to take orders, particularly from our educated brass, like our imams, our doctors, our engineers, things like this. Like if you think about, like back in the day, for example, when some Muslims wanted to study finance or whatever, they would get told, you know, you're studying finance, economics, all this is haram, it's all riba, all that kind of stuff, right? Let me ask y'all something, in all truthfulness, in all honesty. Do you think that finance and economics is a pretty useful skill in an economic collapse? It's a pretty useful. I'm just asking. So now we don't have time to go train our young folk to go become financial advisors or financial anything. They can't be going to school for no 5, 6, 7 years to bring back that financial knowledge. This is too late, right? The window's way too small now. They can't be doing that now. Y'all hearing me? So how are we going to get these financial advisors and financial economists? I'm going to let y'all put it in the chat. How are we going to acquire them in this impending or this economic collapse, which is already here? How are we going to acquire these folks? How are we going to acquire them? Okay. So we have food security, which is, like, as in no particular order, but if you listen to the advice of the Prophet Muhammad himself, or even if you're reading the Quran or the story of Yusuf, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of drought, that should be enough for you to score or to put in your mind that food security should be at the top of the list. Land acquisition. And none of this food security or land acquisition, it doesn't work. What I'm about to say right now, and that is collective defense and protection. If your land can be taken from you and your food can be poisoned, and there's no point of setting it up. Look what's going on in Palestine right now today. Look what is going on right now in Palestine today. Do you know that the Zionists, God's chosen people, okay? God's chosen people out there in Palestine, putting cement and filling the wells of the Palestinians with cement. Did you know that? Did not the Prophet Muhammad say that during the last days, there's going to come a time where 1/3 of the world's water will disappear, and then another third, till there's no water left on the earth? These people are intentionally trying to get rid of the water of the people. Okay, so Sister Tika says networking and through stuff like this. Well, how did the Prophet Muhammad he acquire the talent from this? How did he do it? How did he do it? It's the same thing that worked for him. The same thing that's going to work. It's through dawah. Through dawah. And if we're going to make dawah, then we need to be on the same page. You know, by and large, black folk, they haven't been affected so much by YouTube and that. I mean, I see some funny looking Negroes here and there that share with me that this YouTube and stuff. I just look at them funny, man. I'm like, what the heck's wrong with you, man? I don't even bother arguing with them folks because they want to argue. They want to argue. I don't bother with them. Okay. Most black folks ain't gonna sit down and watch no Ali Dowers. Sorry, Ali Dow. I'm just saying. They ain't gonna watch you. You're not relatable to us. Okay, under our experience. Okay. Okay. They just say it ain't gonna work. So we haven't been affected by that so much. So, but we have been affected by is mass amounts of infiltration. Mass amounts of infiltration. This is our history actually. Black history is a history of infiltration, of interruption, of assassination, making sure that we don't have heads and leaders, and our enemies are forever trying to hand us their hand-picked leaders and say those are the black leaders. Right? Oh, they always do this. Yeah, the Dean show. Josh, like that YouTube and stuff is played out 100%. Black people ain't watching that stuff. Well, I know one or two, okay, that watch that stuff, but for the most part, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. It's corny. It's corny. Okay. So, in order to get these things, food security, land acquisition, and of course, collective defensive and protection efforts, we need to protect, of course, our women, protect our children. And when I say our women, I don't mean hyenas and heifers. Like those there for later. Okay. Yeah, even three Muslims, they corny as hell. Sorry to say like that. Three Muslims, they corny. They corny. Like what kind of what y'all doing out here? They are a part of the populist movements that we are talking about. Okay, these folks, Dean Show, three Muslims, they are purporting the populist narratives in order to get bones and biscuits. Haram. In my opinion, haram. I'm not making a fatwa, but haram. Okay. I said I'm not making fatwa on haram, but I'm saying haram. Okay. How do you, as a self-respecting Muslim, wow, wow, Allahu Akbar, brother Josh, wow, man, may Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. Thank you so much for your generosity, brother Josh. Hayakum Allah. My uncle will reward you and bless you, multiply it for you a millionfold. I mean. Everybody, I mean for Brother Josh, man. Brother Josh, longtime supporter of the channel. We got to give Brother Josh balloons. I mean, so, like I was saying, okay, the thing with black folk, we say here on this channel all the time that if we are not going to be merciful with each other, nobody else is going to be merciful with us. Not the Arabs, not the, what just happened? Did I lose y'all? Did I lose y'all? Y'all still here? Sorry, man. Oh man, I need some help, man. I need some help. Wallah, I need help. Can y'all hear me? Sorry, man. Also, Sister Tika, may Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. I mean, sorry, I missed this one because I was having all kind of crazy difficulties. May Allah reward you and bless you. Everybody's say Ameen for Sister Tika. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Can y'all hear me? All right. All right. So black people will not don't expect mercy from people who don't love you. Like we don't play that here. You know, it's funny the way that we act with each other. We will tell each other, okay. We have even have songs about it. We write songs about it. Them not like we and we not like them. Them and we not make the friend. We have entire ballads. Them not like we and we not like them. Them and we not make the friend. Entire song and everything. We will say that stuff to each other. But the second some other people group come around, all of a sudden the switch kicks in, right? And we have a different way of acting with them than we do with each other. We have to be merciful with each other. We have to forgive each other. We have to be on code with each other. And as a matter of fact, we are more deserving of that. How many times are you going to hear some black Muslim, new convert Muslim, something like that, become Muslim, trying to marry some other people from some otherwhere, and then he gonna complain about racism. Oh, their parents don't want me to marry her because I'm black. That might be true. That might actually be true. And as a matter of fact, most of the times it's true anyways, right? Let's keep it a buck, right? However, there is a cultural thing that's going on as well. They got their culture. They are on code with their people. How are we not on code with ourselves after all this hell we catching from this enemy? How are we not on code with after all these centuries of catching just pure hell? So now this collapse is coming. And this collapse, it's not going away, right? Once it's already here, as a matter of fact, things are going to get a hella worse. And we can't talk to each other with some mercy. We need some more licks, right, before we have mercy with each other. Can you imagine? We need some more lash and you know, as the Africans say, we need some more wahala. Africans know about that. We need more. Is you kidding me? If you look at the Jews, the thing that they do is that they're totally on code. They teach their young themselves. They don't have other folk teaching their young. They teach their young from they have all boys classes. They have all girls classes. They're teaching the boys how to be men. They're teaching the girls how to be women. You get me? The women are teaching the girls, the men are teaching, like, they're not messing around. Do you know who else used to do this, ironically enough, and did it successfully? You will be shocked. Do you know who else had the entire community speaking Arabic? All the people in the West. I'm gonna give y'all some guesses. Somebody put guessing in the chat. This individual had all his entire community of converts, black people, speaking Arabic fluently, man, woman, and child, reading Arabic, writing Arabic, speaking it. Men with the men, women with the women. Y'all know who it is? I'm going to let y'all guess in the chat. You will be shocked. Somebody guess in the chat. We want some guesses, y'all. Stepmommy says Malcolm X. Malcolm X, he himself, stepmommy, he couldn't speak Arabic. He himself. So it's not Malcolm X. But good guess. Good guess. Because Malcolm X, mashallah, he is definitely one of, rahimahullah, definitely one of our heroes. But it's not Malcolm X. Abu Toba, another really good guess, but no, not even Abu Toba. Habibullah, Sheikh Abu Toba, not even him. But another good guess, very good guess. You're going to be totally stunned when I say this name. This man had his whole community. Thank you, Abu Aramaya. Abu Aramaya, he got it. He got it. It is the Ansar Allah, aka Dr. Malachi Z. York. That's the world's most prolific pedophile. Okay? Cult manager and founder of many different cults in the black community. Depraved cults. But the one thing that he did that we still haven't done, him as a cult leader, he had all his folks, all of them, every man, woman, and child, reading, writing, and speaking Arabic in his compounds. We've been here for how long? We've been here for how long? Even my kids my kids can't speak Arabic. I can speak Arabic. I can read and write, but I'm not like fluent or anything like that. Like I'm like maybe intermediate, maybe. Right? And I'm not confident in my Arabic. You get me? So what is preventing us from looking at a model? We don't have to look at his theology. We know that this dude is cracked up. We understand. Why can't we look at his model? Why can't we look at those models, those successful models? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Guys, this is our problem. The second that we see some other people that ain't Salafi or whatnot, we go in ultra dogmatic mode. And we think, well, since they ain't Salafi, we can't do what they doing because they're Ahlul Bid'ah, whatever, right? Look at the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is recognized anywhere in any Western country. They have respect in the black community. Most black people wouldn't have heard about Allah or Muhammad if it wasn't for the nation. They wouldn't know those names. They wouldn't know the Quran and what the Quran is if it wasn't for the nation. Right? Louis Farrakhan, he's going to die soon. Okay? When he dies, there's going to be a massive gap in leadership, and there may be infighting. I strongly suspect there'll be massive infighting because there's a portion of the nation that has gone very extreme. Now, between me and y'all, there's a portion of the Nation of Islam that is very, very, very extreme in their dogmatism. Very extreme. They are out there doing things that the old nation never did, like worshiping Master Farad Muhammad and openly saying that, I worship Master Farad Muhammad. And there are people in the nation that don't do that at all. They will say that Master Farad Muhammad is Allah in person, all kind of stuff, right? Why don't we have some agreement that we will teach them Islam and they will teach us, etiquette and drills and all this kind of stuff, and what they have, with the MGT, those MGTs, right? For the women, so MGTs. Who knows? Who knows what the name is for the sisters there, right? They have women classes. They have women classes. Their marriages are successful. Their women know how to be women. Their men know how to be men. Why can't we have some agreement with them? Like that. There are people, aren't they? We send your kid. Do you not send your kids to the Kafir schools to learn from Kafirs about stuff? We don't have to accept their Islam, but are we saying that we can't learn anything from them? Nothing. This collapse is coming. It's here. Rather, it's coming. It's here. Yeah, there's going to be a giant power vacuum. There will be a giant power vacuum, which means there is a massive opportunity for dawah to them. Because the same thing that happened when Elijah Muhammad died is the same thing that's going to happen when Louis Farrakhan dies. And what happened when Elijah Muhammad died? There was what? A power vacuum. And then what happened? A mass conversion of the largest mass conversion in recorded history to Sunni Islam happened because of that. Y'all don't see that this can happen again? We should be right there waiting when this happens. And we should be welcoming them. Come on, brother, come over here. We should be welcoming them. Let me teach you about this Quran. Can you teach me can you teach my sons all these drills that you guys do in this martial arts stuff? Can you teach us that? And then we teach you Quran, we teach you some. Can we do it like that? Why can't we do something like that? You think they'll disagree? I don't think they'll disagree. I do not think that. A lot of people are in the nation because they are inclined to do good for the black community. They're not necessarily there because of the theology of the nation. They will say that they believe in the spaceship and the mothership and all this, but really they don't really actually believe that stuff, right? Now and the proof is this very wild contingent that is coming out of the nation right now that's never existed before. That is the proof. This wild contingent exists because the people are not inclined to stick to that dogma. So now they have to go very far into it. I worship Master Farah. That's what they say. I worship him as Allah. Elijah Muhammad never said that. Neither did Malcolm X. Neither did Louis Farrakhan. They never said that. They said, yeah, Master Allah came in the person of Master Farah Muhammad. It was extreme enough. That's very extreme. That's kufr. It takes you outside of Islam. But the worship is a different level. Different level. The Hebrew Israelites, when this collapse happens, you got to remember these guys, they're really not standing on anything. And with most collapses, when they happen, like when you see in Haiti, you're going to see a rise in gangs and things of this nature. Like in the times of the ancient Greeks, you had these barbarians. Barbarians are essentially gangs, right? That's what all they are. They will be the dogmatic gang. They will be that. Mark my words. You heard it here first. They will be the ones in the black community, an extra gang. So in Chicago, you have the folks and the peoples in LA and them. They have the Bloods and the Crips, and in the East Coast, you're going to have the Hebrew Israelites. You're going to have them. They're going to be gangs. They're going to be violent. You don't see a necessity for a collective defense and protection agency, not just for the Muslim, but for the wider society. Because when the people see the Muslims protecting everybody, that is the dawah. That is the dawah. A lot of y'all have been tricked, especially on social media, to think that dawah is going out and debating Christians about the Bible and stuff. That's not dawah. That's a debate about the Bible. Dawah is 85. Sorry, it's 5% what you say, 10% how you say it, and 85% how you present Islam in your actions. If you look at Hind, alayhi salam, radiallahu anha, she became Muslim after she cut out the liver of Hamza and ate it raw. Okay, right? She became Muslim. Why? Because somebody called her to. No, she hated Islam. She hated with a passion. It was only when she saw the Muslims praying at the Kaaba, when the Prophet Muhammad conquered the Kaaba, that's when she said, "This is the religion of truth." No amount of talking would have convinced her. Y'all hearing me? How you act and how you present yourself is the majority of dawah. So if you are not clean and if you're not respectful, and all you want to do is put down people who want to be Muslim because of that. Look at these protests now, and you know, remember we said how long ago that these protests will be, you know, eventually they'll be taken over, they'll be co-opted. Are they not co-opted now? These protests. Look what these protesters are doing now. Go on social media. People who were with the protesters are now against them. They were siding with them. And they're now against them. So when this collapse takes full effect, what will be your answer to your community? We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves. So, family, we're coming live tomorrow again, inshallah. And I would like, again, to thank all of you for joining me. I want to thank Sister Tika again for your donation. May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. I mean, big time supporter, Sister Tika. May Allah reward you and bless you. I want to thank all of y'all who joined me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Those of you who are watching, and the bare minimum you can share. Bare minimum, right? Y'all know that this messaging is important. Y'all know, right? Y'all know that your imams need to hear this, especially if they're black, right? I want to thank again. Special shout out to Brother Josh. May Allah reward you and multiply for you a millionfold. May Allah bless you, brother. That was very generous of you. I can't thank you enough. May Allah reward you and bless you. Ameen. Right? And everybody else in the chat, may Allah reward you and bless you. Make dua for your brother. The channel, mashallah, the channel is actually getting more and more views, as y'all can tell. Right? So you're going to, and the last live that we did, y'all seen all the trolls that came out at that live, right? Y'all see they came out in abundance. And we are going to expect a lot of pushback for what we put out. So it's so important that you guys subscribe, and you guys share, man. It's very, very important because we don't subscribe to any other group, any other people, any other organization, nothing like that, right? We are the original Black Muslim grassroots channel. And we only get our support from first Allah and of course you, the people, right? So we will see you guys tomorrow, inshallah. May Allah reward you and bless all of you. And may Allah unite us all in Jannah. Ameen. And I'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.